I like it when things go smooth. Good evening and welcome to Oracle Talk Radio Network. I am Michael Anthony. With me tonight is Mary Fabian and Ernie Davieau. This is America Disclosing, Uncensored, where we like to bring the best news the best way we can for you all the time. Tonight is about the mysteries of what some call the cryptids. What are they? The dog man, the Bigfoot, and maybe possibly other things. Ernie, welcome to the show. Would you care to say a little bit to the audience about why you do this, where you're at, and just a brief summary of your experience?
Yeah, I'm just an experiencer. I had experienced these forest people or Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them, about 38, 39 years ago. I really wanted to know why that it had happened to me. Back then, you really didn't hear about uh, too many people having an encounter of any type, and it's led me down this road here to where I am today, sharing my experience with other people in a lot of the other groups. So that's where I am today.
Mary, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you so everybody out there can understand what you're about?
All right. Yeah. My name is Mary Fabian. I am the founder of Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project, which you can kind of see right along there. And I am an experiencer, knower. I have seen Bigfoot over a period, 5 Bigfoot over a period of 50 years. I am an author, written various magazine articles and my own book. You can find me on Amazon. And I run a podcast also. You can look me up, Monkey Wench. And I just love talking about Bigfoot.
All right. Thank you for doing that, guys. So here we are. We're all stepping up a little bit together. I mean, everybody's helped each other. I want to extend my appreciation to you both for helping that to happen in ways, but also trying to stay with the roots of the people that made things like this possible for many other people out there that do what we do what you do. I have stories too, but I'm saving them all for something coming really soon. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise, but it's really hard to keep up with some of the things. I know in a conversation through private messaging, there were some things that came up about hand signals and so forth. Was that something that you guys would care to discuss for a few minutes? Because we've learned a lot about, Ernie's experience, and we'll get into touching a little bit more on that too. I think the audience would be fascinated to know, especially for the newbies coming in, to hear these remarkable things that you guys, have direct witnessed and seen with your own eyes. So how would you like to start off? Who had the question? Was it you, Mary, that wanted to discuss a little bit more about that? Or was it a question that you had for Ernie that you wanted to utilize?
Ernie had the experience with seeing a Bigfoot using hand signals. And so after hearing him speak about his experience, I dug a little bit more into it, but I'm just fascinated with his experience, and I'd love for him to talk about it.
Cool. Yeah, Ernie, why don't you dive us into that? Take us back to that moment where you're standing there, because I can remember doing this interview with you several years back.
Yeah.
Where you're in awe, and he's probably in awe. And go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's like Michael's saying. It was it really bothered me because over the years, because I really wanted somebody else to come out first with this and say this happened to them also, so that I could say aha and stand with that person, and nobody ever did. So I'm just giving you everybody a little bit of backstory on that. So I decided that somebody had to do it, because it literally was a message, and obviously the message was to me, to get people to understand something about them. Ron Moorhead, he has the Sahara sound tapes. I've listened to every everything on there that's out there on these Sahara sounds. And he had Scott Nelson, and he's a naval linguist, and it's definitely a language. You know, it has prepositions, it has, you name it, it's definitely a language. But this guy is very, very good, and he could not put his finger on what it was. They never told him where it came from. He said it's a language. I don't know what it is, and I don't know what this thing is that's talking. Well, my encounter was kind of along those lines there. Mary, I've talked to Mary several times on this because my encounter actually started at about 35 yards or so. And I'm giving you everybody the short version of it. But you can imagine if this happened to you, that you could have just said that you've seen something, and that would be it. You know, everybody has a little bit of information. That's why I push out there to everybody, don't allow the bullying to go on. It destroyed my life for all those years. And I relive it. I mean, when you hear that, I relive that maybe a couple times a week now, you know. It bothered me because it knew how to approach me. But the fascinating part was that when it knew that I was standing there, it was taken aback that I was standing there. It did double take on me. It didn't know how I got there. I was hunting, and it turned out that these things, because there was more than one, I seen two, but I believe there was even more than the two there. I didn't know how I got there, and it decided what it was going to do, even though I was armed, that it was going to de-escalate the situation, which it did. It started walking towards me. It gave me a set of hand signals to basically like calm down, you know, two hands. I have drawings that are out there that were done professionally, and I was very adamant on how those drawings should be done exactly, you know, in case anybody ever wanted to try to utilize them. And some researchers out there actually have utilized them. Another hand signal that it gave me was to the chest. One finger to the chest, right hand, pointer finger, closed fist, and then to its own chest. You know, I've heard many versions of that. This whole time it proceeded to walk towards me. It finally wound up at being only just a couple feet away from me and put its hand out. Well, that basically the last hand gesture was put his hand out between the two of us. So I had to look straight down between the two of us to see its whole hand, you know, top part at first, and it flipped it over. It had the palm, and they wanted me to look at the palm. At that point, standing next to it, I was sucking in the information. I was able to look at the hair. I was able to figure out, if you will, that what I was seeing at first was what I thought black hair was indeed not black hair. It was deeply dark brown. And it appeared in the sunlight as the sun shone through the trees, that it had like hues of like maybe red to it, a red tint to it. So I have no explanation for that other than the fact is, you know, light plays tricks on your eyes, and I knew that it wasn't that. I know the skin color matched it almost perfectly. It was like a deep, dark brown, almost like an ashy brown. It's hard to describe. Maybe it was an oily thing on it or something. I don't know. But if it was like at maybe 40, 50 yards, you wouldn't be able to tell where the hair started and where the hair stopped. You know, it's just every place that a man has hair, they have hair. Exactly. That is exactly what I seen. You know, on the face, on the backs of the hands, where your knuckles are, you have no hair on your knuckle, then you have a little bit of hair, then your next digit, your next knuckles up there, no hair. Same thing on the forearm. You have bare spot on your forearm, identical to us. But when it turned its palm over, it was the only one that I didn't understand why. It bothered me because it knew how to approach me. It got me to lower my shotgun, and I was dropping my hand to my sidearm, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And just as my palm was touching my grip on my sidearm, it didn't like it at all. And we had made contact. I hear people say, don't make contact with them. Well, maybe if I would have known all those things back then, it probably would have been different. I don't know, but I was checking him out, and he was checking me out, and he didn't just show me his palm. He adamantly wanted me to look at it. He tapped his palm. He tapped it. He wanted me to look at it like I was studying it like a little kid. And I want to mention that every single gesture that it made to me, it would look at me and like a teacher would look at you, like seeing if you understood what was going on. At that point, with the last hand gesture to me on the palm, looking at his palm, I was able to, I was wondering what is it? What do you want me to look at here? I could see that his hand was basically just like our hand, clean. He didn't stink or anything, but he had the same markings on his palm that I have on my palm, that other people have on their palm. Some people said maybe it was a covenant or whatever. I don't know, but he didn't have a lifeline. That that definitely I knew. And that was it. And he bowed his head to me a little bit, like out of respect. He had done that more than once, during the whole encounter. And from that point there, I watched him whoop to however many was on the other side of the stone wall. If you're familiar with the whole encounter, because they were definitely hunting the same deer as me. And he did that 3 times with his hands up to his mouth. And it was a second and a half in between. It's something that I, not bragging, and just I'm good at it. If I hear something, I can tell you if it's gunshots, what it was in between each one, how many rounds, whatever. And he did that 3 times. And then he looked back at me again, and he did that same gesture with his head, like out of respect. He looked back over there and he whistled, and he gave the hand signal for the other ones, or other one. And he went off away from me in the same direction where he came from, exactly the same direction by the trees. He was about 50, 55 yards out, and another one broke the tree line over where the stone wall was. They came over that corner of the stone wall, over what I call the dog leg. It went back down the side of the mountain, over Drake Brook, and straight over to him. And I'm talking fast. I hear a lot of people say, geez, how fast do you think they can run? I can tell you they can outrun a deer, and a deer's been clocked at 38 miles an hour. And I'm pretty sure from the looks of this thing that a lot of people want to compare it to like an extreme human being. There's no comparison, because I don't believe an extreme human being could keep up that type of an activity for a very long period of time. And this was running through the woods. Now, pretty much the majority of it where he was running through the woods was open. So I got a good look at the gait on how it ran. And I mean, it was smooth as silk. It's fast. I call it heels and elbows, right all the way out to the other one. And from there, they had a little chit chat, basically facing me, and that big one, which I measured off, because when he was near the tree, when I first seen him, I was looking for something to measure him off on, and I found a little piece of moss on the tree. And I had gone over there after all this was said and done, measured that spot, and it was 7 foot 8 inches. I used my own height next to it and measured up from the top of my head with my other hand as I stepped back a little bit. And I come up with 7 foot 8 inches tall. I've talked to Michael before in the past, and I figured 500 plus. Michael said something that big in that kind of shape had to be closer to 6. So I'm going to go 550 with Mike here. Split the difference. It was big. It was really big, and it was really, really extremely fit. Some people say, well, why don't they all look like Patty? Well, maybe she's matronly. Look at an old man. When a guy gets older, that's what they do. They put on the weight. Their facial features change. Do they start off looking pretty when they're really young and stuff? They just might. Who knows? I mean, I do know some eyewitnesses that have seen them that were like around the teenager age, and that's pretty much what they look like. We have a lot of factors that play into this. People don't understand. The average length of time is between 5 and 11 seconds, right, Mary? somewhere's around there. And then we got
Being generous. Yeah.
then we have Uncanny Valley and going on, something for people to look up. And then we have fight or flight going on. And, people say, well, why didn't you run? Well, I've got a lot of training not to run, first of all. And secondly, I've been hunting all my life, taught how to hunt by my father and his uncle and a hunting party in general, we'll call it. And at that distance, I knew that I didn't stand a chance. There was no running. There was no running from it. And the way that it acted, it won me over. And over the years, I've really got a lot of respect for what 411, this and 411, that it's frightening on some of these missing people, because I often thought that it knew how to approach me. So the message to everybody is, that they have a language. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, they do.
Yeah.
5 years ago, people didn't believe they got in trees. 5 years ago, they didn't believe that they ate meat. That's wrong. They do. They get in trees. They do eat meat. And regardless of how heavy we know that they are, they can do all those things. And the whole message is, if they have the language and everything, is for people. And I hear them say this a lot of times. They go, well, if you're out on a trail and you and one happens to be walk out in front of you and looks at you, what are you going to do? And people go, I'm going to run, or I'm going to do this. I go, no. How about you Jane Goodall the whole thing? You try to communicate with them somehow, because you're not going to speak their language. Somehow hold your ground and try to communicate. That's basically it right there. What Ron Moorhead had heard, which I just left out of there, was when they were together, is they actually had a little chit chat. That's what I heard. I heard the Sierra sounds, and some people say, well, did it sound exactly like it? No. The three of us might get into it on here and start screaming and yelling at each other. That's different dialogue. It's different, a totally different thing. We're not going to sound the same. So when you have them doing one thing, maybe they're sitting there talking about, hey, did you take the last fish? Or whatever is going on. They might have a little tip going on there, and so it changes. So it's going to be a little bit different, but more than basically, it was way more than that. Is what I heard was really like the Ron Moorhead tapes right there. I just wanted to reach out the day that I heard those tapes, and I'll never forget it. It was probably not even a year after my encounter or so that I finally heard it, because I started investigating everything, and I just wanted to reach out. I always wanted to meet Ron Moorhead and grab him by the shirt and shake him and go, dude, that's them. I watched them do that, But I want everybody to understand this too, is why so long? Because of the one bully, okay? And then it was maybe 2 or 3 more after that, and it destroyed me, destroyed my life, it destroyed everything. Don't do that, because it could be you someday. You could see anything out there, and you're the skeptic that you were, like I was. I would have laughed right at you. I really would have, But now I look at it and I tell people, it could be you. And when that day happens, I hope you remember my name, Michael or Mary. Give us a call. We'll be more than happy to listen to you. Yeah. That's it. If I left anything out, quiz me.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
Are you ready for me?
Yeah, I've always been ready.
We have some really, really intense conversations. We spend hours on the phone. It's not about Bigfoot 99% of the time.
Yeah.
We've been there. We've done that. We've moved on to bigger and greater things, and we won. But nevertheless, getting back to the reality of the show here and the mysteries of this paranormal. So you're in one place located across the United States from where Ron Moorhead was, where he collected the data on Sierra signs. We have cultures in the United States, human beings, that have difference in languages going across every state. These beings seem to have it fluidly across the states, as they are in direct communication, where we are losing certain factors and being separated by certain things that have taken place through mankind's existence, but yet they still are able to collectively understand each other through whatever these vocalizations are, which is pretty remarkable. I wanted to go there and made sure I said that because I think, there's factors of data in there somewhere. So to me, they must travel a lot more than we probably ever think about, that they stay so well connected. Because we can be apart from somebody 5 states over, and things change. They just do. But also, we understand that when we look at them, a lot of people say, well, there's many different types of families of them, and they are titled different. But cultures name them different. It doesn't mean that they are different, but there are some descriptions that are different and don't fit a sighting the same way. Before the show, we were talking just for a minute where I noticed that there were pictures online of plaster casts. And what I believe to be a footprint of Bigfoot, some of these were not. They didn't look like what we would think of what we've learned that they would match up. But yet people are promoting them as, such a thing. Mm-hmm. I would think that we may have other things in the woods is where I like to go with that. But we're going to give Mary a second here to catch up on this also. Ernie, I'm going to ask you something that I think is just, and I may have asked you this once before. I don't remember, but I do believe you mentioned that you noticed it had amazingly blue eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. With that being said, and other encounters of people seeing things and they have red eyes. Just saying, like there's something different. May actually be part of a component of something else we don't understand, because in the tree line, they're seeing something very tall, something very large, but maybe it's really not Bigfoot, Sasquatch. So, here I'm just trying to analyze some of the things. The other thing I want to end with is the thickness of the hand. When you're looking at the hand, and you can see all the makeup of the hand where it matches to everything like ours without lifeline. You didn't notice lifeline, but you did notice that they were humanoid, human, of all human features, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty not surprising. It doesn't surprise me. I've been through that, but I just wanted to reflect into that in case there wasn't clarity. Also, let's just give a quick hello to Jack Warren's on there. Hey, brother warrior, how are you? Wanda's on tonight. Oh, Squatchman stopped through. Jeannie Buckley stopped through. Joe Fox is watching. A lot of the wow, there's a lot of people really collecting all around, checking things out. Winnie's on. I don't know. I think I know who Winnie is. Thank you guys, everyone. If I didn't mention you for joining, I also want to say hello to Russell. You're a rock star, brother. We'll get together soon. I have a couple other shows to do. Just want to shout you out loudly. Also to Carter, who's been a big supporter in these Sunday night Bigfoot research events that we, kind of collecting together with us all here. Mary, so you hearing all this, knowing what you've experienced, what sticks out in your mind, if any question at all does?
Well, I think, the point that I wanted to make that, Ernie mentioned the vocals, the Sierra sounds. Mm-hmm. I've heard those also. I've never experienced the hand signs, although I've researched more into it. I have a Native American friend who is the expert native hand signer in her tribe. And so I spoke with her, and I'm trying to connect she and Ernie so they can speak. And but then there's also stick figures that they will do along with the tree structures. Those also are part of language. The glyphs is what we call them. You'll see different configurations on the ground, or trees that are twisted or woven in a certain manner.
Right.
It's all a language. Each of those has a meaning, a specific meaning that we just haven't deciphered yet.
Very interesting. Now, especially when you say like when you come across a tree that has been like used as a message, and you see some of these, and they normally say, well, that's the indigenous and it's directional. 9 times out of 10, if you come across a tree, it's horizontal, vertical, vertical, horizontal. You see this change that is totally like, where did this come from? It's kind of like walking through the woods and finding a tree planted upside down.
Right.
That is part of the same type of scenario of what we understand. Bringing that up, though, you know, we do see, like, as you said, these little structures. Anything about them that comes to any one of your minds, Ernie, I'll start with you. Is that like a marker for home or family, or in your mind, would you, we may not know, but do you have an assumption?
I do have an assumption, a little bit of an opinion. I usually talk to a gentleman by the name of Lynn Gillespie. I believe you might know him, Mary. He seems to know a lot about those glyphs and stuff. And what I found from listening to people, other eyewitnesses that are running research groups. I don't know if you found this, Mary, but that glyph, the A glyph, I've seen that in 4 different states.
Yeah.
So some people were saying that, well, that's its name, that's their name or whatever. I don't believe that that's their name, because that'd be like, you're talking thousands of miles.
Yeah, it'd be like John Smith, who's everywhere.
Exactly, exactly. But I have seen it used in.
Same here.
Yes, I have seen it used everywhere. in like the word Lynn, okay, and being accepted. I can't really describe how it's used, but his name was spelled just a little bit differently. And remember, I want people to try to remember that they're intelligent far more than what we believe that they are. Okay. And that being said, it changed his name just a little bit, but he said that it also had a child. Okay. It was now a couple of years old. And that A glyph was utilized in with his name. Okay. Because he put his name down and they duplicated his name. Then they put the A glyph, and then they put something next to it to signify that you are welcome. So I don't know what you've been experiencing on that. And also the branch breaks and everything. Yeah. I've heard everything from 2 really good things. Mm-hmm. Probably used both ways as direction, but the other one was a lot of it is showing up around man-made objects. Yeah. Right on the man-made object. If there's a road that cuts through there, right, they'll have a bunch of breaks right there.
Yeah, and they're usually about maybe 50 yards apart, something like that. And in my humble opinion, which we all know what opinions are, but that they are territory markers, boundaries. But we don't know exactly. That's only theory.
Yeah,
I've heard that also. Territory. they do become sort of territorial, particularly when there's food plots, we'll call them.
Yeah,
that they're using. Particularly if it has anything to do with medicinal plants. Mm-hmm. They become a little bit territorial on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something you just said triggered in my mind. I don't know why, but I go with gut feelings. You know me, guys. You both know me. I've talked to you both endless hours at times. Maybe in ways they're preparing for, like we do, like winter and harder times or hardships, and they hide their seeds and they use them like kind of like an above ground root cellar. Maybe also. One person in the audience happened to think they may have been their mailbox, but thank you. I just chuckle with that. Maybe it's a factual truth. Maybe they can leave one another something, and it identifies to a family member, or not a broken family member, but family members who move on, that create their own families, and they do things, and that's kind of their spot to go back to. Assuming is not a bad thing. Have an opinion and this whole thing is not a bad thing. But I get where you were going with that, Mary. I was almost going to fill in the blanks for you there. What an opinion! Yeah, everybody has one. I get it. But no, I mean it makes you chuckle a little bit, but also something else did. But I'm not saying that to be rude. Ernie, I think you'll know why I'm doing this. Squatch Man says hello to all of us, and I just want to say to Squatch Man, it's good to see you back. So anyway, with that, moving on in life as we all do, I know there's more research out there. There's more things out there. So, all right, you guys are studying all this stuff. I try to keep up where I can. I've been all over the place doing many things. I don't always get what you guys get and so forth. So teach me something. Has anything come up recently that just has blown you away? I mean, as far as like, an experiencer, a story right now that's buzzing in a way, where we are going and stepping further into being able to connect the dots to some of these things. Anything going on besides the fact that I keep hearing they're demonic, they're deities, and I do believe that there's good and bad in everything. Who's to say that's not true? But sticking to what I'm asking is, anything out there jumping at you big that you're impressed with, or that has taken you to be open-minded to something being shared right now?
Well, the one thing that I'm kind of involved in is a ongoing research area that we've been working on since 2018. Uh, there's an elderly couple that owns a home on about 8 acres of property.
Can you
And
mention the county? Is that okay to ask you?
it's in the Allegheny National Forest.
I know, but that's pretty big because I'm in it too.
That's about all I'm going to give you.
Okay, well, I'm near the 268 border
Mm-hmm.
since 2010, and I do see some of the things you do. But all right, I respect that. So please continue.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't get into more detail about the location. There's too many people out there who will ruin it. But the thing that's come up most recently, and it's a two-way street. It has its good points. It has its bad points. They're becoming bolder. They're coming up on the back deck of their house, and they are literally putting their hands on the windows and peeking in the windows. And so what we're doing, we are finding constantly, like on a weekly basis, the handprints and a little nose print right in the middle. And it's funny actually, because you see these all over the windows, the patio doors and the bedroom window. I'll stay over, and sleep in the one bedroom, and I'll wake up and find, heck, there's handprints and a nose print there where a little peeping Tom, well, not so little, was looking in.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll do all kinds of things on this property, but that's the most recent thing.
Okay.
And one of the researchers that I work with, he has learned to pull the prints from the windows, as well as pull the DNA from the handprints themselves, because once they leave the handprints, there's like an oily substance that they leave on the window. And so he's extracted the DNA. We've sent in multiple samples to a few different labs that we're working with, because primarily, why we're sending to multiple labs is basically as a double blind, to see, okay, what results we get from one lab. Is it the same results that we get from another lab? Just to make sure they're telling the truth.
Yeah, that you have good integrity with the results.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally get that because as we experience things, and it's like put the blinders on. It's a conspiracy, and that has to end. It really does. And I think we're going to move forth in a more positive manner. very soon, already happening. We're seeing change, and I hope that reflects down into the communities and maybe creates more of a positivity instead of animosity and ignorance when you post something. I actually have 2 pictures in my file. One, but here's the thing: there's no twist to it, but there is a twist. They look like 2 different cultures. They look like 2 different types of Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Okay.
I've actually posted the one. It's hard to see, but it is there and you can see it. I mean, there's clarity to it. The other one is a little bit more of a mystified picture. You see it's back from the window where the other one was like right in. It looks younger to be probably, well, it's hard to assume that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 12, maybe it's 14 or 15 years old. I don't know. You can't, really conclude anything that way. If I don't know if you or guys know how I've been putting up some of the pictures recently as of, well, what do we have here? And people would make comments. Most of them were all, negative. But, when you put a challenge out and say, hey, all I'm asking you to do is because somebody asked me, can I find anything out about it? Well, that kind of blew up. I just removed it. I was like, well, this isn't worth getting into. That came from a TV. Well, where is it? Where's the TV show? Show me it. And I'm not saying this to call anybody out, not even now. I made a promise to somebody I would do the best I could to find out what I could, but ignorance came with it. And when I asked the person, look, if this is your expertise and you are, weighing in on this, please tell me where it is, or can you find it and match up the identical picture that you said it came from? Should be pretty easy.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. It never happened. So I don't know what that one picture really means, but the ones in the window, as well as one evening where the window was up, the bed was under the window. They were a couple was in bed sleeping. This was in the Allegheny counties. Okay. So we're talking, I'm sorry, not Allegheny Forest area.
Okay.
Armstrong County, about 5 miles from the Allegheny River, up on a mountaintop back in an old mining district. They had a little home nestled off in a very small cut. Some call it, I think, Whiskey Run. And they could just hear the as it breathed.
Yeah.
And they just laid there and dealt with it, both telling each other, because they were awoken to it. I believe I shared this with Barb Horton not long ago. And Barb, if you're out there, hi to you. I always like to send Barb a hello too. So we are seeing amazing things in the Pennsylvania forest. There's no doubt about it. So I get where you're at with that there, but I'll send you something on what I said. And Mary and Ernie, you may have all both seen this, but I assure you, it was a picture from in the house without a flash, and you can see it, but it was very black and face featured. Not like the other one that was stand backish at the window, or it was approaching or moving in and moving out, observing in some fashion, or maybe it's part of their natural maybe being there. Because we do hear a lot about they were standing there, but they were like rocking.
Yeah.
You hear these things. So maybe it was typical, and the only shot they got was more. But we're not talking about blurred, but we are talking about the one being a little bit kind of, sort of, or maybe the window wasn't clean for some time. But it's a pretty impressive picture. So I'll share it with you guys in case you want to, weigh in on that. Outside of that, though, okay. Wow, I'm kind of trying to think in my head. As the talk show host here, where was I going? I'm going to give the platform back to you guys in a minute. But anyway, just in case they want to do some music and throw it into the thing, this would be a perfect time for a cut. Just to say, you're listening to the Oracle Talk Radio Network. I am Michael Anthony. With me tonight, again, is Mary and Ernie. Hey, by the way, Mary, this is a good point. Hold your book up. Do you have it there?
I ran out of copies. I sold them all.
Oh my! Well, that's good news. That's
Yes,
good. All right, what's the title? What's the title? Everybody, listen up for the title.
it's Bigfoot. Heck, my experience is over 50 years, and you caught me at a bad time here.
That's okay. We know you wrote it.
Yes.
You know, any court in the world would be able to roll in your favor there.
Yeah.
That's all good. We'll get you some information, or if you can, send me a picture of the cover, and I'll get it back up. I know I've tried to promote it before. I know. Ernie.
It's on Amazon. Just type in my name. You see it right here, Mary Fabian. And type in Mary Fabian and Bigfoot. It'll bring it up.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
Ernie, I want to surprise you tonight.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I got contacted about you about 3 weeks ago. True story. And there's some very serious people wanting to do a documentary on you and your experience. I said to them that I would willingly give your information to them upon your approval, knowing that you were coming on the show, because it was about the same time we were planning this. How do you feel about that? Was it something that you would have interest in? Because I don't know how you want to move forward with everything you've been doing. You might have interest.
I do have interest because, like we spoke about before, I don't know if it was off air or on air, is I'm basically doing what I'm doing here to get a message out. A message that I look at, it was given to me in June of next year when I go to the first festival in the state of Massachusetts. This is being done for the children. This is to teach the kids about the watershed, about kayaking and canoeing, about search and rescue in the hill towns, and that's exactly where I stand on a lot of this. So, yeah, I would love something like that. Yeah, I don't know if it's the same people. Some people contacted me just recently, but
there we go.
Nice but yes, I would, Michael. Yes.
Okay, I'll make sure that I do it now that I have your approval, because like Mary needs to protect areas that she is working with. It. Could you?
Yep. What I've learned about Bigfoot, 50 years and counting.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's the proof of the 50 years. She's not one of the newbies out there. She has a lot of time and dedicated her life into this scenario of finding out the truth behind it all. And that's, I wish I could give you guys awards. I really do. Because so many have worked and are overlooked, and people judge for other reasons, popularity, but not the facts of the reality. And what I would like to do, actually, and I'm going to do this in the future. I'm working on something. Well, I have been. It's a little bit of a secret, and it's nothing, but it's a little memento. And they should be coming any day. So I'm going to show you guys something. Hang with me.
Maybe it's Michael money.
No.
He's got his own.
Oh my!
Pretty cool.
So it'll be with my thanks and appreciation to all that support and have been on the shows and brought their testimonials, and I can't wait for it all to happen and take place. And we all have to do something to show our love back to the ones that work the hardest, and not to ever forget them. We're only here once, and everything we do is that we have been doing, what you have been doing, is what's most important. So just a little sneak peek of something that's going to be happening as we get near Christmas. Make everybody's Christmas just a little bit better. But anyway, so another question that always pops up, guys. I'm going to ask you both. I know, Ernie, at times you go hiking, you go out, you meet people. I've seen you post pictures. Mary, you've been doing this forever. Maybe I should ask Mary this question, because you do a lot of camping and observing, and you'll be on What's in the Skies with me. As the guests are already pretty much preset, it's going to be pretty fascinating. Got to get you up to where it's being shot. That's what's going to be important. So you don't know about that part. But anyway, what is your thoughts? Because this is a reflection where the orbs come in and where the UFOs come in. Do we have a connection?
I have not experienced, I've seen orbs and I have seen UFOs. I've seen Bigfoot. I have not seen all three together. I have no idea if they actually are connected. All I can say, it's possible. The orbs, I'm more inclined to think that they are connected, but again, it's just a hypothesis. That they're connected with a Bigfoot, primarily because of there was a previous question on here about electromagnetic fields, and the Bigfoot will put out what's called infrasound, which is a sound which is below the range of human hearing. It's below 20 hertz. And the military has done extensive studies on infrasound. As a matter of fact, using it as a weapon at some point in time. Windmills will put out infrasound. But infrasound, it will affect electronics. It will drain batteries. It'll interfere with your cameras. It'll shut down, if you're using your camera to try to film a Bigfoot running and standing right in front of you, and all of a sudden your camera goes dead. That has happened.
Yeah.
But it's you can use. There are infrasound detectors that you can use. There's a possibility also of EMF, using an EMF detector. You can try all kinds of different things. But it's a fascinating study. I've looked into, the infrasound quite a bit. I have a friend who discovered the connection. He's retired from NASA, and he discovered the connection between Bigfoot and infrasound. Goodness, it must be raining outside. And he discovered, whenever he was doing experiments at NASA, that his workers were getting sick during the experiments. And but he also had experienced around Bigfoot the same type of sicknesses, the dizziness, the nausea, the vomiting, the migraines, everything that goes with getting what they call zapped.
Yeah.
And it'll affect different people in different ways. And I've been hit with it, God knows, I don't know how many times. But, it'll affect you in different ways.
Yeah. Ernie, did you have anything like that happen in your experience or after on your little expeditions and hikes that you sometimes get out to do?
Yeah, this is as everybody heard me in the beginning here when I said that I was pretty adamant. I was very skeptical. I would have never believed anybody, So of course, having this situation in my life, it was all about me checking out why me and what does this mean and that mean and everything else. And I've come across a lot of eyewitnesses that they just don't want to speak to too many other people, but they're pretty willing to speak with me. And I'm finding that, and I've told Michael this before. I hate to be like this, elusive like this, but I've told Michael this before: is I don't need a DR in front of my name. I don't need anything in front of my name. I'm just an average, everyday human being. And if I start sticking other things in front of my name, you might confuse that with me being confused about what I had actually seen. So I like to stick with one subject particularly. But yes, I can tell you honestly right now that I've seen things that I just can't explain. I'm extremely skeptical. I'm the guy that if I thought there was a grizzly bear behind a bush, if I just thought it, I'm probably going to go over there and check it out. Call me crazy or whatever. So, like Mary, I haven't seen these things all together at the same time. I do remember reports back many years ago, right before I had my encounter in that same area, where people definitely did see the orbs in that area. They definitely seen the um, forest people or the Sasquatch themselves in that area. That being said, yeah, I have to admit I have seen something that could not be identified, and people that know me know for sure that I am not going to doubt anything. I'm going to look at it, and the more reports that I get, the more eyewitness reports that I get, it seemed to really clarifying that indeed there is something there. Now I know people are probably familiar with trying to remember their name from New Hampshire, the couple that was picked up by the UFO, Betty
Oh,
and Barney
Betty
Hill.
and Barney?
Betty and
yes.
Barney. Well, I had a gentleman that he through my first marriage, he was the best man. He was a cousin of the woman that I had married. They're both passed away now, but he was a kind of like a freelance photographer for the Westfield Evening News as a hobby. And he and I hope that when I say this, that this person hears me out there and they try to get in contact. It's important. But I had owned my own store called the Blandford Country Store,
Oh,
and him and I worked together there. It was kind of like a family situation there. But he got his film for free, but he had to turn the film over to them all the time when he took pictures. He took pictures of Sasquatch in that Cobble Mountain region, and he took pictures of something else. And he actually got to interview Betty Hill. And
wow.
Betty Hill actually claimed to him that the two were connected, that she claimed that they were actually dropped off periodically by the orb or whatever that it was. Okay. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I have seen some strange lights, orbs. I know a lot of people that are seeing them, particularly in that area. I know that Michael, I believe, is seeing orbs. Everybody is, but are they all together at the same time? Is one gonna be there, and all of a sudden you have the fourth person there? So far we don't have that happening, and I hate to say that because I don't want to give people ideas on how to hoax. I will say this though: the question presented to me the other night was somebody wanted to know, well, was it a portal? Okay, and I said, well, I have to explain that, and there's a difference between a portal and a veil. And what was told to me by Chief Ernest, okay, was that he believed that I walked in two worlds, that I had actually walked through the veil. Okay, and we hear that with some pretty renowned authors too. They speak of in the days of Noah, that veil thinning out or lifting. Is that a possibility? Is that what's going on? Because when people asked me originally if they had ran through a portal to get away from me or whatever, and I say no, that one they flanked me. One went right, one went left. They appeared they were flanking me. Um, could it have been the veil? Is that what was going on there? Can they do these things? There's a movie out by Morgan Freeman on this, not on Sasquatch, but on a theory on this, on quantum physics. And ironically, this is where Ron Moorhead is. If Mr. Moorhead were to come out, I think, and start saying all of this stuff, then people would start thinking that he may be a crackpot too, when he has valuable information, extremely valuable information, i.e., one is the language. We don't need a body. A body isn't going to tell you anything that we don't already know. just accept where their heart is, or just the anatomy of me personally, or what they had for lunch or whatever. Because, when you get a deer, you don't know if that person took that deer from New Hampshire or Maine or wherever it was. It would take a lot to get that out of it. So, no, I'm a firm believer that we need to take the next step. We're no longer in the hypothesis, and Mary could probably agree with this, where we are looking at the theory of behavior.
Yes.
Because we definitely know that
Yeah.
these things, because they are smarter than what we think, it's easy for them to outsmart us. It's easy to beat somebody in a game of chess when they think that you're the idiot. Okay?
Oh yeah, they play with us constantly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's that's why I'm in this. I study their behavior, and I just find them fascinating and doggone it fun. Yeah, it's extremely dangerous. It's not they're not your furry friends. It's dangerous. I've been in vehicles that they've rocked, rocking my truck while I
Right.
slept inside, banging on the walls of my house, peeking in my windows.
They're super strong.
Yeah, it's not, it's not a fun little experience.
We just had one that was picked up on a TV station. I seen somebody post on a lady and her daughter, and she's seen one in a tree. And they showed the tree, and they show where it was in a tree. Let me tell you something. That's a pretty thick circumference tree. It's huge, and the limb that she said that it was on is got to be 18 feet up off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, this thing had to have hit that tree on a full tilt run and just catapulted itself up that tree. It's something for people to think about. So if you're tracking, and their normal full tilt run is probably somewhere around 18 feet, because a deer will pop out at like 14, 16 feet, full tilt going out like that. They're 18 feet, and they are very agile. It would be easy for one of them to lose you. You would be making all kinds of circles looking for one track.
Yeah.
For quite a while, and they can get into a tree so easily. But yes, to answer Michael's question again, yeah, I have seen some things that were just unexplained, that were linked to an orb.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about how fast they run, and I had the opportunity to clock one.
Really?
Running. This was out in Oklahoma. And I estimated, I would say I'm fairly close, within 2 miles an hour of how fast he was running, but he was running about 52 miles an hour.
Yep. That's where I put him, just about right there.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn fascinating. I'm not being rude. That's pretty damn fascinating. Hey, but there is a story out there. I posted it sometime back also, since we're talking about how they can get up in trees. Well, maybe there's a few ways they can do it. I don't know. I've never witnessed it, so I can't really weigh in there in any way, shape, or form. But there was a young lady that was in some type of national park or something, and she ran across a Bigfoot, and she called the police, and they kept telling her, we can't help you. So they did call, somehow made a connection to the Forestry Commission. They come out and they're like, lady, you saw a bear. You saw a bear. And she's like, don't tell me what I saw. Yeah. So there was a video about her testimonial and meeting with somebody, doing like a little short documentary. And she's now suing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does that ring a bell to you? That scenario? It was up in the tree. No, it wasn't, ma'am. It was a bear.
Yeah.
You're dreaming. You're hallucinating. I mean, come on. I know of stories within the national parks where, there have been people that were suppressed on information that I talked to 5-6 years ago. And I was doing them with talking to Dave Parker about some of these things. Oh, would I get ridiculed over that?
But the story is out there where these things have happened, including shots being fired and hitting the animal. I posted a couple of those where people have been, but were they actually a Bigfoot? I don't know. I wasn't there, but the stories are there, and people are coming forth with their stories, the same as you did, Ernie, and the same as you did, Mary. And do we count everybody's experience out, even though they acted different, or maybe it wasn't appropriate, but they did act in fear? Fear may have controlled the scenario more than common sense. So you have these scenarios that do exist, and it's hard. It is dangerous out there. People would run from fear, and the worst thing to do in my mind is to run from it. But one thing I wanted to go back to you on, I think in Mary, correct me if I'm wrong. Lindora, Pennsylvania. You should know that place.
Yeah.
About 4 years ago, did you put on a conference there? Because I was outside with a lady, I swear, who told me she was Betty and Barney Hill's niece, who was a speaker, going to be speaking at that engagement.
Yeah, I didn't put that one on. It was that one was hosted by the Butler group. I can't Boru, Boru.
Okay.
And they put a conference on every year in that area or in Butler. And I remember that. Yeah, I spoke at that one.
I was outside. The funniest things, the way life works.
Yeah.
I walked through doors. I don't even know why they open. And that is a commonality of what you're talking about. That when you talk to the chief, Ernie, and he says you walk between the veils. I do believe they exist. The same as when we don't remember at times how we managed to get from one point to another in the blink of an eye. And it's like, whoa, I don't even remember driving down this road, but you got there safely. Somehow everything was perfect, but in a moment's time was lost. And in ways you hear about these things. The same as where I had somebody on several years back, and what they kept experiencing in their life. And it didn't get many views, but I didn't care because it was so fascinating. What they have dealt with in their life was going into the woods, hiking and so forth, whether they're just picked or they don't even know that their own energies and frequencies can allow them to engage into another spectrum, another realm, where they would walk past people and they would turn around just to see, like, this person would turn around just to see, like, okay, I don't hear them no more. They were talking and they're not even there.
Yeah.
They're not even there. So you hear about these things. Do they manipulate us somehow? Is frequencies and infrasound part of the paranormal? We hear about it in ghost hauntings and all that investigation type thing as well, to where, certain things get people sick. They don't know if they're hit with infrasound, but they describe elements of the same typical type thing. It's just magnificent, man. It keeps our minds so active, don't you think?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
So do you think these dots are some of the same?
Do you mean, do they connect? A lot of them?
Yeah. Because there's a lot of them that actually kind of
I do
radiate that way.
Actually do. Because you're looking at, like, you just go back on Ron Moorhead for a second, looking at quantum physics. I mean, really takes a lot.
We just send him an invite and get him on. I mean, I've talked to him 3 times. Fascinating individual, just a beautiful man, great heart. We could always do that. Seriously, we could always do that. I would hope he would accept. I've had him on three different times in the past. And
it takes a lot to absorb the quantum physics. And when you look at the quantum physics, the majority of what you're looking at is the fact that you need light, because light and sound frequencies is somehow connected to matter, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we know about quantum physics, okay? So those really are, I mean, sound, and it seems like the forest people or the Sasquatch they're the masters of making sound in frequencies. And if they can use ultrasound, if they could use light too, if they knew how to do that, if we knew how to do that, we could probably do that. But what we're looking at is like when we're speaking about the veil and stuff, we have tire tracks that are thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. We have human footprints, a boot track in stone that are thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. Is it maybe some part of our future that we finally learned how to make a time machine and somebody ironically goes back but can't get back here and winds up leaving their track? Isn't it ironic that the Egyptians and the Phoenicians and everybody wrote everything that they could write in stone? They understood that the paper wasn't going to last unless it was under the right conditions.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But here we're still looking at the Great Pyramid today, and we're wondering, how did they build that? Could they manipulate? Could they manipulate stone, or could they manipulate gravity at all? Because let's face it, we find out when people in the UFO communities, you know, how they're being able to manipulate the gravity in there. So I'm thinking that, let's just say, what if? Because for 50 years, I'm sure Mary and Mike will agree with this. You know, almost a little over 5 years ago, everybody had tracks. They had a lot of tracks.
Oh yeah.
And it's the first thing that I was taught by the hunting party by my father and my great uncle. You can't eat a track. You can't make soup out of a track. And then people started adopting the fact that, well, you know, tracks aren't proof of existence. Oh, yes, they are. Because if you were going to go hunting, particularly if you're going to hunt with me and we needed food, and you wanted to hunt an area where there were no tracks, I can guarantee you I'm going to get a deer before you because of where I'm hunting, you know? So figure 50 plus years, you were stuck on tracks. Now we have this information, and I'm not the only one with this information that's out there. There's research groups that are using this, like Mary and Randy Harrington and a few other groups there, okay? That's where we need to go. We need to grab that football and move it down the field and start trying to do communication. But be careful. Be extremely careful with that communication, okay? Because I know people that decided that they go on that Etsy site that I have there. All those drawings are on the T-shirts, on the sign language there. And they decided to, Mary's probably going to laugh here, they decided to throw the finger to the chest and then back to themselves and then back to the forest person. And guess what happened? You know, even though they couldn't really see him, it was dark out. Yeah. They started getting pelted with little stones and pine cones, and you're throwing gang signals at them. I'm thinking you challenged them. You know, you got to exactly, and that's why when this was done for me, I wanted to be precise. Those hand signals precise. This is exactly what you got to do. When I say your hands have to be here, they're not up over here like this, and they're not out here like this.
Right.
That means something totally different. Okay, keep them where they are. Keep them right where they are, and they're all of them except one are on those shirts. I have one special one. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell everyone, you know, who says, "Oh, okay, do you do whoops or vocals or calls whenever you're out or bang on trees?" And I tell them no. I said, I don't know the language. You know, if you don't know the language, don't imitate it by what you've heard Bobo or the not finding Bigfoot people do. You don't know what you're saying. You don't know the response that you're going to get. You don't know the meaning of that call. You could be doing a challenge, and you don't want what you're going to get if you throw out a challenge.
Yes, exactly.
So, okay, challenges can be dangerous.
Yeah.
How does the gifting absorb some of that negativity? How do you think that's all working for us as we do that?
That's
no, don't put out food. Number one, do not put out food.
I need to ask you why, because I do, and they return golf balls. I'm not joking. Not a golf course around me, not a neighbor around me, golf balls.
It's a dangerous practice that you get into because it's, unfortunately, it's like once you start feeding a bear, a fed bear is a dead bear. You're bringing danger to yourself, to your family, to your pets, to your neighbors. Once you start putting food out, you're bringing trouble. You honestly don't want that.
Well, Michael likes animals, and animals find and like me, and I don't know why. I have a very good relationship with them, Mary. I really, really, and truly do. They don't fear me; they look for me.
Yeah.
I could be running a chainsaw, and they're perfectly fine and comfortable with whatever I'm doing. They accept it. Squirrels, deers mainly, but sometimes, occasionally, other things happen. You don't always have a camera in your hand.
Right.
So I just stay busy in my room in case I'm uneasy with certain things that have occurred.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you shut that off? I mean, I know we don't have the answers to these things, but when you're in that moment and it occurs, you face your fear and hope for the best, because it does happen, even in a typical place where you may not think that it would occur. Because I never thought things like that would occur, but they do. I've had bears stand up and walk on two legs and run towards me. On two legs, run towards me. I don't want to hear somebody say they don't do it. I watched it. I had my child on the back of the quad. It had little ones, and it was like letting me know. I immediately went back to my deceased father-in-law, now deceased, and said, "Hey, Pap, we were coming down the road back to the farm, because there was over 100 some acres there. A little bit over, a couple decimals, I don't know." And I was like, he's like, "Where?" Because he was having problems. And to be perfectly honest with you, he called the game commission and says, "What do I do?" This thing had its face up against the window, and you could see the paws were like basketballs. And he said, "You can't do nothing."
Yeah.
"You can't do nothing, absolutely nothing. Do nothing, or we will arrest you." He says, "So they could break my door down, eat me, and I can't do nothing." He says, "Exactly." That's what he told me. So he said, the best thing I did was throttle the gas and got my hightail out of there. But I really did witness this happen, where it stood up and started on 2 feet, where people say it doesn't happen. They say they're sick. I don't know, but anyway, it's a little bit of an experience that I had. I don't talk about it a lot. I may have in the past, but my son, Michael, and myself experienced it, and nobody can ever take that from us. Yeah. Same as my daughter, when we witnessed things in the sky together and so forth. There's just so many mysteries out there, and everything has ties, I think, in ways, or it's just part of a system that we don't understand why it's here, that it works the way it works, and we're trying desperately to figure it out.
Well, everything has a connection. Everything has a meaning. But, talking about gifting, if you want to put out colored rocks or something like that, or a ball, gift them something like that. Something natural and something that they'll enjoy playing with.
I'm going to get them a golf club. I mean, it fits the scenario. You show back up at camp and there's a golf balls on the porch. I mean, come on, nobody goes up there. Nobody has a reason to. Yeah. I'm at a loss for words here.
Color
share with what I experienced.
Paint a couple of those golf balls and put them out for them.
I remember those different color ones when we were kids, and they had the little putt-putt courses at Howard Johnson's.
Yeah, yes.
They were the good old days. I used to go there for the clam strips and all you could eat fish nights. Oh my God, that I love that stuff. And afterwards, my parents would be like, "Get the hell out of here. Go play golf. Here's $1, And I remember all those really cool. All right, I'll give that a try just to see if there's any type of different type of response. Yeah. And like I told you, get your ass up there. You would be pretty amazed. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot different. I know that one of the researchers, Randy Harrington, is what they did was on a table. We talked about it a lot. That they would actually let's say, assuming that they're being watched, because you are being watched anyways, but they would take an object that was on the table and hold it up, just like a teacher would hold it up, and turn around and show it around to everything in the woods, and then put it back down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they had a bunch of things like that because they're very inquisitive, particularly the young ones.
Yeah.
And they got something on one of the trail cams. It snuck up to the table and reached up to check something out. There's a lot of things that happened there.
Yeah.
One of the most amazing things that happened there, one of them, was they had to bushwhack their way in a couple of miles, and on ATV they had to actually cut a trail, and one of the guys lost his communication devices, walkie-talkie or whatever you want to call it, okay, and he also lost one of his pictures that he didn't realize he had a bunch of pictures in his pocket. They didn't make that connection until they got to their destination to set up camp, and the communication device was missing. 3 days later, on the way back out, going down the same trail, in the middle of the trail, there were two rock cairns. If anybody's unfamiliar with that, it's a pile of rocks.
Right.
People place them in there. Inside the first one was the missing picture. Inside the second one was the walkie-talkie, the communication device. They knew whose it was. They're making it obvious to those people that that was theirs, and they were returning it to them because they had use for it. They're very intelligent, and that is an actual thing that happened, and that's what changed a lot of this, going from, you know, the hypothesis to the theory now, you know. So the food thing, like Mary's saying, I would tell people, well, you know, you can possibly do that, but don't do anything that's out of their realm. I mean, it's kind of like going fishing for trout and you're going to use a frog lure or something like that. People who do a lot of fishing will understand that, instead of a fly. And then you have to know the times of the year that those fly hatches are happening. If you're going to do something like that, do it as in a sharing manner, like it's their food source, like cattails, when those cattails come up in the spring.
Or apples.
Apples. You have some for you. You have some for them. You share, because otherwise you may enter into a covenant that you may not really want. Okay.
Yes, I agree.
They love my fruit trees. Something loves them. But
that's right too.
You know, I post pictures of everything I do, and there are times, just being forgetful as we can be as humans, and I've done this where I've left stuff out. They don't. I haven't really had any problems where, because I leave a box of apples or a dozen of peaches because I want them to just get some air to ripen a little quicker, handle them different, not put them in cold, and you know, they're still there. I think there's a respect with all animals in certain ways.
Yeah.
You know, with all animals in certain ways. If they get to know you and you have some type of connection, they don't see you as harm, they see you as one. The same. And that's why, like, even when I take some of these pictures, I have squirrels, I have chipmunks, I have bunnies, I have deer. I mean, I have some of these pictures where they're all together. Just, it's like the Garden of Eden, if you would be willing to accept that as an enlightenment of what I've witnessed, you know. And at times I've seen other things, you know. I can't, even the one animal, which is kind of dangerous. Every once in a while, I'll see them. I can't think of what it's called. Oh my God! But they'll tear the head off of a chicken in a heartbeat. Oh God, it'll come to me tomorrow. I can't think of it right now. It's kind of like a badger, something that would just tear you apart, but that's not the name for it, and I can't think of it right now.
Fisher
cat, mink, fisher cat.
Yeah, Fisher.
No, not a fisher. No, a fisher. Yeah, a fisher.
Okay.
But I have purebred, like, you know, purebred, but pure black ones.
Yeah.
You know, one other thing I've been noticing in nature is the colors of squirrels have been changing. Where at one point in time I had dirty gray squirrel. That's what I call the color, like a dirty gray. Yeah. Beautiful tails on them. And then I started to see brown. And then suddenly it was a mass black attack of squirrels, all black squirrels. And they are very, very angry squirrels. Out of all the squirrels, they are the dominant squirrels. They truly are. I watched their actions, you know, on how they respond to each other, and there is a dominance respect even amongst those little guys. I swear to you on that. I've witnessed it, and I don't know why I'm bringing all that up, but oh, it was about putting fruit out or leaving it out. And
Yeah.
I think there must. I'm either lucky as hell, or like I said, it's some type of respect. You know, they'll eat off the ground because they know they're going to fall.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't put out bananas because bananas are not native to this area.
Well, I put them in the garden soils for potassium.
Well, potassium, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it works better. I mean, it depends what you're going to use. Even if you fish and you're not going to eat them,
Yeah.
or you halfway rip the poor guy's mouth out, and you had to like you know he's not going to survive in the water, then you know they're great around roses.
Yeah.
And then you get the little tea balls from the roses. If you're familiar with the tea
Yeah.
balls,
Yeah.
and you can make tea from those. A lot of people don't see. I'm really into that. It's like a hidden science for me, trying to figure out all the aspects of. I mean, why shouldn't I be? Especially, you know, the way things have gone. You look at all the. What can I do with this? How can I be creative that way? But there are times also where you know we're getting ready to leave camp, and you know. I'll get informed that like, oh, geez, this is going to go bad. What do I do? And I mean, we have beautiful fridge and stove here. It's not like a camp that you can't, you know, everything's set up pretty nicely. It really is. And it's like, I don't know, take it home. We'll burn it. We'll do whatever. And it goes down over along the power line and at the trail where the deers come through, and she'll put it there. And it's really funny. The other day, she did that or said something to me. She says, could you get rid of this for me? And I was like, I'll take it up to the woods. And I did. And it wasn't bad, but we knew we weren't going to be here. And there's this one area I go to, and then I dig my soil from there, recultivate it, bring it back out to the front.
Mm-hmm.
The deer was in there eating all the pasta. I've never seen a deer eat pasta until the other day. Now, it wasn't spaghetti. It didn't have sauce. It was just pasta. What had happened actually was there was a great value box of pasta from Walmart with another brand of pasta. They were cooking different. And while the other one was cooking different, it started to shred apart.
Oh.
And she says to me, have you ever seen anything like this? And I was like, because she knows I cook my butt off all the time. And I'm like, no, wow, this is suspicious. She said, what do you think? I said, well, they're going to be done and they're falling apart. This still has minutes to go, but it looks like it's taking twice as long to cook. Just take them off the stove, start from scratch. You know what I mean? So don't mix your pastas. You can, when you think you're just filling up or whatever, you know, I just found out recently for the first time, it doesn't pay to do that. But anyway, deers eat pasta. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
It was a big buck. He was out there having a good time. I bet you it didn't take a half hour. He smelt it, came in, and he ate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put out some pumpkins. I was making some pumpkin butter and pumpkin curry that I was canning, and I roasted the pumpkins and threw, you know, the carcasses and the seeds out by the woods. And I haven't checked, so I'm going to have to see, you know, because I figured something's going to eat it for sure.
Ernie, I bet you're missing all your trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, we do. We have, we just got 2 more big trees. Well, we took one, we dug one up when we left the other place. And Lois bought another big tree, but the peach trees and the pear tree, you know, and the apple tree, yes, definitely, we do. Although the animals got the majority of that, and that is a situation that I had there at that house, or we had at that house that Michael had at his house there. You know, the apples seemed to like overnight, like was raided. You know, it took them, took all the apples. You know, but like we're talking about food, leaving food for them, leave them. And that's a tradition. It's a Native American tradition too. When you go to the woods and when you leave the woods, you leave a piece of your harvest there. You share it with them. Mm-hmm. Don't expressly do that, because understand that if I was holding a sign up alongside the road, an off ramp on some highway, we'll work for food, and you take me to some place to work, and then all of a sudden you're going to withhold the food, we got an issue. Okay.
Yeah.
So think of it like that. If they go to some place and you're always putting something out for them, you're going to have to keep on doing it, because if you don't,
Yes.
they're gonna be like, where's my popcorn for the movie,
And I've had some mysterious things happen that way. On the back end of the property, I put in rows about, I don't know, 8 foot by 30 feet, maybe 40 feet. I don't know. There was around 1,000 ears of corn. I'm there on like a Thursday, and I rip one off because I was getting twins and hat tricks on them, and I was like, wow, this is like not real common. So I took one off and I bit into it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so good, and we're going to have 3 days of sun. It will really get sweet, and it'll be prime at that time. So I make the decision, don't pick, and came back. It was Monday or Tuesday. Knew it was going to be rain, was going to be moving in. Thought we'd get up there, get it all. Wasn't an air there. You can't even see where I put this from the road.
Yeah.
And I have a 90-year-old neighbor, not the best guy in the world there. He really isn't. So just when I first bought the property next to him, he told me, if you shoot a deer, don't come on my property to retrieve it. And I was like, oh my God. Then my grandchildren are out running on the quads, and he's like, hey, I don't want you on mine. So then I put up a line of trees going down just so I didn't have to look at them, But I don't know if he would have told his family. This is one of the things I don't know. But something went in there, did not break one stalk, and every ear of corn was gone.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's gone. I mean, we were baffled. I mean, I sat down. I mean, truly. Now, I found tracks up there for bear plenty of times, but we were just baffled. I looked on the ground. I looked where the soil was soft. There's nothing. And I sat down, and I'm just going in my head like I was angry. I was really thinking, but would he had told someone in his family? Now, here's the thing. He's 90-some years old. His children are like 70s, So it would have had to have been his great grandkids or something, to go through there, but to do it so.
They would have left track, It's something I've shared with you before, Michael, that area where I had my encounter. Before that, like maybe 2 years or so before that, scouting that area, I had come across where there was a hole punched in the ice on Drake Brook. I call it punch, but it was like because the ice crystals were taken out, almost like you would be digging with an auger.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting part was, because I was checking for tracks, I would carry a 6-power, 3 to 6 power binocular on me, so I could look at without walking on a deer trail, so I could follow them. There were no tracks leading up to that right there. So I scooted right down to it, and I'm looking around. I'm trying to figure out, is this a man? The deer don't do stuff like that. I don't know any animals that do anything like that. And then I noticed the brush marks in the snow. These things do brush their tracks out. They are experts at doing that, because I found the branch on top of that. And I mean, I really had to lean out into that mountain laurel bush to actually get that out of there,
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got no tracks out there on the corn. They are that smart that they can do that, leave no trace that they were there.
Yeah, we've experienced that also, along with them backtracking on their own tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And jumping up in the trees and traveling along the trees instead of on the ground.
Yeah, I've read a couple stories where whether they were factually
right,
I don't know, but where one described in a story that one was seen dragging like a big pine branch, like behind him, like, so maybe that was kind of in a way. Now I think in the story it says it was like around Christmas, light snowing. So that would have brushed probably prints away
Yeah.
if they were thinking in that manner of logic to hide how they move. So I remember reading something about a pine branch being used like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think I've actually seen the same story. You have to figure that they're normally going to travel in the areas that they travel in. You know, like we were speaking a little bit or alluding to a little bit earlier. 3 to 4 in a family unit, then you got clan units. Okay, and just like the Native Americans for breeding and stuff are mating, it's concentric. They don't do it within so many miles of where they are. But when you're looking at the covering of the tracks, if they have to for some reason um, leave their natural way that they travel, yeah, I would think they are going to rub it out. If they don't expect you to be coming up that dirt road or whatever, then they're probably going to leave a track on there, and that's usually a happenstance that you see them. You know, but other than that, they're knocking their tracks out of there. They're covering up their trail, you know, and it's something that we don't look at. We definitely don't look at. A lot of things are very subtle
Mm-hmm.
to do, you know, and that would, I mean, look at the guy that they caught up there in Maine that had been uh, um, hiding up there. I forget what the lake was, but somebody will probably remember the story. 30 something years, nobody ever seen the guy. 30 something years, and they finally caught the guy. They didn't even know what was somebody coming in from out of town or what was going on, but during a certain time of the year as he was getting into the cabins and taking food and stuff like that. But 30 something years this guy hid from everybody up there. Nobody really seen him. So think about that, you know.
You have to. I mean, because he's probably not the first one that did it. When
Right.
people don't want to be found for whatever reasons, they turn into that feral man. They
Mm-hmm.
truly
Yeah.
do. Or couple. You don't know. And they just live different. Then they start to smell different. Then they start to look different. And they become part of nature, but not in the best way. And misidentifications have happened.
Yeah.
Because we get descriptions of man-like more than Bigfoot type people, and that goes back to the feral, I believe, is how it's pronounced. And maybe at times, because of other people starting to live like this, there are misidentifications as well going on.
Mm-hmm.
It would depend on the size also, but and plus the Bigfoot, they're as individual as we are. There's large, big, bulky, 4 foot wide shoulders, 6,
Yeah.
7, 800 pounds. And then there's lean, athletic ones also, just built different, built smaller and leaner,
I
but
think
still very
they're a lot
tall.
like what we go through, maybe.
Yeah.
We're all different.
Yeah.
Every one of us sitting here has some different type of, about us. But that's what makes to me. That's what makes life more beautiful about everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree with you. But at times, sometimes stories, just like superstitions, grow, and they get a little bit undirected in the proper way. And what can we do but reflect upon maybe one sentence in the story that at least tells us something more than everything else. But we do know that things and people kind of narrate their stories, and they grow a little. Well, did you hear? I caught 6 fish, and then suddenly, hey, Dad got a dozen fish today, and the story kind of like ejaculates its way into the whatever system of BS. But I understand where you're coming from, but in distances and in fear, maybe people see something different sometimes. Not everybody have the same type of pattern of thought like you do or Ernie does. I mean, crap, maybe I'd make a mistake and say it was 7 foot tall, and maybe it was a juvenile with 5, just because it was a surprise of the moment, and in a
Yeah.
flash of an eye, the experience was gone.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know. It's crazy, but it's still great that everybody's continuing to go
Yeah.
through this path forward. And I think there's remarkable strides happening. I just wish we could tighten up the community and get rid of the little meme, laugh in your face gestures on everything you may say or a comment that you make when you're trying to be as honorable about a post or involved within a post. That saddens me the most because I see it in every group I go to, even the ones that say we're not going to tolerate, but yet somewhere along the line, somebody has a bad day and they rain on everybody's parade. You know, one of those things.
Well, it's like my group, I don't, I've announced many times, don't put the laughing emoji on someone's post who, they're asking a question or they're sharing their experience.
Right.
Because these people, they, like you, Ernie, they suffer from PTSD. They've gone through the ridicule and they're traumatized by the entire experience. They don't need further traumatized and further ridicule.
Exactly.
You're suppressing them and keeping them from sharing because sharing their story is what they need. They need to share it, to get it out, to find a friendly person, just to listen.
Exactly. We're looking at that story we were referring to earlier about that lady and her daughter that seen that one that was up in the tree. If y'all listen to that story, and this is the reason why we do not bully. There's information in everybody's story. There's something in there. Guess what? She did have a piece of information that I picked up on is when it was up in that tree, it actually motioned for her to leave in the direction she should be going.
Yeah.
It actually used a genuine hand signal. Get out, go that way right there. And it was right in the end of her interview with the news station. But I bet you very few people picked up on that. And that's what we're looking for. If she got on somebody's group and started telling the story, then you would never have heard it again.
Right.
Okay. Right. And that's the interesting thing. And that's what scared her. And I will guarantee you that's what's going to give you PTSD is when you see one and they look so much like us. Like you'll hear people say ape like at news story. What is Apple like? What is that? What is Apple like? And same thing with that. What is ape like? Is it because it's nose and you're trying to describe something. You wouldn't be able to describe probably one of your closest relatives to the rest of the relatives, and have somebody sit there and draw it and have people actually possibly know it. It's an extremely difficult thing to do to tell somebody, well, we know where your eyes belong, but I mean, to draw it the way that it should be done. So by all means, listen to your eyewitnesses because it's not just a bedtime story. They're good stories, okay, and it's for the people who want to hear stories, and that's good. They're not researchers, but people who are, whether you're an armchair researcher or a couch potato researcher, whatever you're doing, or boots on the ground, that's the information that you're going to glean out of it. You're going to pick that up. You're going to wait a minute. She's seen that thing tell her which way to go. I wonder if somebody else out there is seeing them maybe hold a hand up to stop a car while it ran across. Those things have been seen. So,
yeah, they understand, I guess, in ways that we wouldn't understand how that's possible because we live in a world that we got used to with technologies. And we look at these people just as forest people, so to say, like they don't have any inclination of factors and technologies and whatnot. But yet, I think like a dog. You throw it, you throw me into water, and I'll do the doggy paddle, and I will come back to the shore. Instincts, something is there. Well, interesting thing though here that come up that we didn't really get into. We talked about how they hide their tracks by walking, but when the sudden disappearance of tracks occur, that's an interesting area, especially if you know that you're looking at fresh snow or something, or it's a mudded area. and you see only, one side of like the right foot only, the left foot is not there. I've had that experience. I really have. Maybe if we use our dowsing rods more and follow the ley lines, pick up the Earth's natural energies, maybe they do follow that, and that's the veil. And when they get to that point, they go to the highest point at the cross of any ley line. Veil is the strongest point, and maybe they, as having some, we would think artificial, but an ability that we don't understand, they utilize it and they go back to a different realm, coming, going between the worlds. And maybe that, how do you guys feel about that?
Well, I look at things in the natural, scientific way first before I go beyond. As to this person's question about following a trackway and all of a sudden nothing, I've run into that many times. And what you do is you look at that last track and you think, okay, a natural stride of a Bigfoot is what, maybe about 6 foot. So you look up about 6 foot, maybe 10 foot out, and you still find nothing. And that's common because they can leap immense distance. I tell people, look 20 feet out, look 30 feet out, because they can leap. They've been seen and measured leaping about 35 feet. A grown male, alpha male, they'll leap out about 35 feet. So, measure out and look way beyond that where you think that next track's going to be.
Yeah. Learn how to use your walking stick.
Yeah.
As a tracking stick. Takes 2 people to track. Leave one there where you lost. They have more tricks in their box than most people can imagine to get away from you. And it could be maybe they don't want you following them to that little ley line there. Yeah. And that's why they're trying to lose you. I mean, let's look at some part of their anatomy. One big part of their anatomy, that'd be their nose. Yeah, it seems to me like they're taking an awful lot of air. They can smell you. They know you're tracking them. Mm-hmm. They can feel you're behind them. They can hear you. So they're going to use every trick in the book to lose you while they're maybe going to that ley line so that they can step through the veil. Who knows? Maybe what it was telling me was not just that we were the same, but wanted me to stay there while the ley line dropped or the veil lifted or whatever, because that was one of the questions that Chief Joseph had asked me. But bottom line is they have a lot more tricks in their box and you have to know all the tricks. Like if you were a trapper and you wanted to go out and trap animals for their furs, like rabbits or fox or whatever, you have to know how to put that trap down, where to put that trap, how that animal thinks, where it's traveling. They know.
Yeah, trappers are aware of that too. Yeah, you're right. I watched a lot of the shows in Alaska on the last frontiers and places like that you cannot live in any longer. And the only way these guys actually managed was by trapping, lynx and different things like that. Because doing what I try to do, as we all do, we find different ways that help us understand the theories of animal interactions and possibly why they do. And some of the animals do what Mary just said also. Sudden stop at tracks, but then you can pick them up, 5 or 6 yards down, as if, the only thing they could have done was leaped. I'm not saying it's the same, but we do have to look also at the size of the prints, I think, when we see them and try to determine, okay, if he's not an alpha male, he's a juvenile, he may only be able to go half that distance. Yeah. But everything makes sense. But I'm just trying to say for anybody out there that wants to do this, that is doing this, that's not thinking about this, you have to look at the whole picture. And sometimes size of the prints are, as women sometimes say, do you see the size of that man's hands? As if there's going to be something special about him. Or the size of his feet were this. Okay, so you're trying to tell me, yeah. But I get why they're saying what they're saying. But it's pretty fascinating. And I think we brought up a lot of really good scenarios of what thoughts are, how people should look at things better. I wish I had a little bit more time, but I do, but I don't. But you know what? Now that I'm not going to be doing quite as much on the one platform, that'll open up a few more hours here and there because honestly, I did like 45 guest shows in the last, oh my God, I don't know, maybe it's 47. And I got one coming up on another one coming up. Oh God, I can't. Space Dot Radio in a few days, I think. Something like that, I think it's called. But it's going to slow down because we went into a peak of something else. You know, we were all interested in getting to that point, but now it's a whole different scenario. You know, it's the big whip, and everybody's cracking under pressure. Everybody's going in different directions. So maybe for a tidbit longer, but one of the things why, Mary, I owe you a sincere apology was I was afraid to start something and be thrown off. I wanted to protect anybody that was near me as well. And that's why I was doing more shows out of my own American Crisis and doing things on their platform. And a few people regretted that. They lost their shows and a few other things. But, you know, I think everything's going to calm down and it's going to be a lot better for us in many ways. And I think more fluid information will be coming. But if by stopping that, it will give me a couple extra hours here and there to go sit out back, you know, study the surroundings, seeing how the format of the geology has changed because it's changing. We're losing trees. Everything I try to take into perspective on many levels that way. But I do owe you that apology, and I say this to you. I am truly sorry. But when I gave it thought, and as long as it was taking to line up a few guests that I wanted to bring in, I thought to myself, oh my God, the last thing I need to do is have somebody on a show with me who has a heart of gold. And because of something I'm doing elsewhere, and then it fails because of it.
No, that's fine. I'm fine. It was just the circumstances that I had to back out of the one.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. And, you know, my condolences and everything on that matter as well, you know, but again, I'm glad we're going to be able to move forward and jump into this. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Hopefully in the next couple of days, we'll get a lineup going. What's in the Skies is going to be pretty incredible. I'm not trying to cut off what we're doing here, but I do want to publicly tell everybody I've been working really hard. I got a lot of really great pictures of things in the sky. I seem to be able to interact that way better for whatever reason. We all have a purpose. And for me, I have a connection to, I don't know what, but it's there. And I've been utilizing it the best I can. And Mary's going to be joining me with some guests, and we're going to be discussing more of that part of the ufology. I'm sure it'll fall into some of the other dots that we've been trying to connect tonight that people speculate on. But I can't wait to get this rocking and rolling in the next week or two. So that being said, also, we're not out of time, but if any of you guys want to do what I just did on your own behalfs of what you got going on once more, before we get into any ending comments, why don't you guys do that now? Mary's got a book. She gave that information. Ernie, also, I want to let you know, I'm just going to say it like this. I'm going to be in your thoughts tomorrow, just so you know.
Thank you.
And anything else as far as you have anything else coming up? Are you still doing the T-shirts?
I am. It's on New England Encounters.etsy.com. And we put all the T-shirts right up front, and in their high definition. We had that taken care of.
Nice.
We want to give you a really good shirt, and it's all on the hand signals, okay? And they're all done by Sibylla Irwin.
Wow.
Okay, so it's a collectible, and you know, promote that and get it out there so everybody understands. Let's start using some sign language when we go out there. You know, learn a little bit of it.
Yeah, because I even do it here when someone loses a microphone. I mean,
right.
It's like,
right. Yeah.
I mean, I think in nature, there's communications we don't even understand that go on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I have a Facebook group, Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project. And I also have T-shirts available, both with the logo of my organization, Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project. And I also have my Monkey Wench T-shirts that are now available. And get on my podcast every Wednesday evening on YouTube at 7:30 p.m. It's on YouTube, and it's called Monkey Wench. Wench.
I like that. What made you come up with wench? What were you thinking about?
My daughter was in LARPing at the time, and the group that she was with, they were pirates. And so it was just a fun little correlation. Okay, monkey instead of wrench. How about a monkey pirate lady?
Okay. Hey, whatever it takes. I mean, we all try to, I don't really do a lot behind music and intros and things like that. Maybe I should. I don't know. I'm happy. I'm just happy. I'm to do things like this is just, and it gives me something to look forward to every several days or so. It's like, I get to like break loose and be free and do what I want, as you get older. It's better than just watching a TV program. How many times can you watch Big Bang Theory over and over? But I do have to tell you something. If you ever watch that show,
yeah,
it was total disclosure in many, many, many fascinating ways if you just really listen. Sheldon's part, I mean, and he, a phenomenal actor to do what he could do and to memorize the lines the way he does. But it's not even that. It's the messages. The writers really put so much. I mean, they call out the whole entire other side in ways. They just do. And they've been doing it for a lot of years and also exposing what was going on in the schools 15, 20 years ago. Just crazy. So if you look, I mean, out there today, there's a lot of information as we know it. It's vibing through everything and turmoil and positivity. So I want to get into something with you guys before we go for the night. And this is going to get interesting. But if anybody listened last night, maybe, they'll be like, okay, I heard enough. So we were talking about afterlife and out of body experiences. Okay. Now this is just something, not that I'm just fascinated with, but I think a lot of people are. You get to the point, and they do lose people at times in surgeries and so forth. So these are documented cases through hospices and medical health care facilities. But when this happens to a person, the biggest part of the data has come back that there is a blending of senses where as we in this vessel are like shielded from only having, smell, touch, feel, the five commons. But over there, when they come back and they tell the room everything they saw, which normally they can, or they left one elsewhere while experiencing elsewhere, not only could they smell, touch, feel, and hear, they could do it all at once. Everything was combined as a one. Being out of body, no more in lockdown, but your spirit being free, your whatever energy that leaves for that short amount of time. That is one of the biggest documented type of occurrences. And to me, that tells me, and I want to know your thoughts, that when we leave, we will be able to do miraculous things that we don't understand by testimonies of people experience these things. And knowing that your senses, even smoke, was described where they could feel it, not just smell it, but feel it. And not just feel it, but taste it. walking through a wall, and that moment, being able to do it and describe what the feeling was like as they did it. And it makes me wonder about abductions and how that works, and frequencies and our energies. And maybe these little things that come to take people away are utilizing through those little black almond shaped eyes some type of frequency or some type of energy that also fits within it, and we don't understand it. So I don't know if I explained it well enough to you, but imagine, they call it, I believe, hypersethia. It's a heightened senses abilities, and where you can do all at once. Could you imagine being able to feel smoke, even though when you put your hand into a cloud of cigarettes, there's nothing there, but over there is.
Wow. That would be amazing to experience. And wow. Yeah, I've heard of people, going out of body, at a near death experience, or being dead, but getting pulled back to life and repeating, telling what they experienced. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. That's why learning of this data, it just like, I was like, wow, because it's data.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe because that we're in this shell that we're in right now, that we become so dependent upon it that we actually separate ourselves, that we can't feel those things? That once we drop this shell, that we can actually there at that point feel these things. I think it's in that show with Morgan Freeman. I wish I could remember the name of it. You have the awareness, and the difference between a dog and a monkey. And then we get to a human being. And when you first start hearing that in the movie, it's like, okay, now here we are. We're more aware than them. Well, guess what? The dolphin's even more aware than us. And then it starts getting into what they can do. It gets into quantum physics and what can actually supposedly be done after level 20 in quantum physics. So perhaps that once we leave this here, the only thing we have left is just what's left is just that knowledge, is just that connection right there. And that's why we're no longer grounded to this and dependent upon this. And that's why we can feel everything. Could we possibly do it in this state also? Yeah, maybe that's something that we lost. Maybe that's something that perhaps the forest people have, and that's what separated them from us.
There you go. That's where I was going to conclude it. Thank you, man. Nail on the head. I mean, we don't know, but that would be pretty miraculous to understand the possibility that is factual.
There is a reason why they dropped us. We cannot be trusted. We are hateful people. Hateful. Everybody wants to claim that there's like 7 sins. What if somebody told you there's not 7 sins? What if somebody told you there's only one? And that one is ego, because you can put ego on every single one of those sins.
Yeah,
every single one of them. And once you drop that ego, then it's a different scenario. Just my belief right there. But it's all about the spiritualism. And once you have that connection, and you have the animals coming around you and all of that. That's something that they never gave up, that the forest people never gave up. And that's what I referred to as the covenant. Okay. Was there a time that we entered into a covenant with them, and then they seen what we were going to do, and they said, we don't want any party, and we need to back away and stay away from you because you're not ready for us? Could be. I mean, Native Americans talk heavy about that. I don't talk about that, but it is there. And I think that is what we lost. Our pineal gland, our pineal gland just been about crushed. It's got just a crust on it. We can't use that. When people talk about the chakras of the body, we're separated as people, and people go, okay, I'm on the chakras thing. Okay, well, I'm not on the chakras thing. I'm on this here. But what if you combine them both? What if you found out that the chakra in the middle of your chest, your heart, called love was the wrong word for that? What if you found out that the actual interpretation was Jesus? Or what if you found out that by taking it from here and putting it out here, you become a transmitter? Is that something that maybe the forest people could do? You know, and what were they ever supposed to be protecting me from? You know, I hear people talk about Dogman, and I'm like, maybe they were protecting me from things like that, or maybe they were protecting me from evil. Maybe they're trying to show me the good. And ironically, people feel their best when they take their shoes off and walk on the dirt, or they go out into the woods and you sit there. All the animals, if you give them a chance, there's none around. All of a sudden, they start coming towards you, and that's when your vibrational levels start changing. Okay, so maybe that's something that they really know how to manipulate, and they know way more than what we know on it. We know just a little basic thing on it. So maybe that's what happens when we drop and we lose this shell here. Maybe we step over or through that veil, and now we are more aware of everything has substance or a frequency. We don't actually feel the smoke, but we feel the frequency of the smoke. We feel the frequency of this and of that, all at the same time. Could be. What if?
What if? I love what if. You know that. I love what if. Well, it's been an amazing show with you guys. We come to the end of the conclusion of the time. Everything is mandated by time. But again, if we didn't have to live by that, life would be so much better. But we can't. I want to thank everybody who joined in the chat room, staying as lively as you guys have. Someone asked about a comment about posting a link. You go to my page and even just copy it, or right from the show, just hit that little arrow on the left side. It'll take you over and you can copy the link. You can post it wherever you want, like and share it. I want to thank you guys, Ernie. I'll be thinking of you, Mary, you as well. I know that everybody's going to appreciate all the information you gave. Any further questions, just post them, and I'm sure the guys will look after the show tomorrow, whatever, when it's all posted up, done, complete, that they can comment back to you if you have anything of in a mannerism of a direction for information that you're seeking. I am Michael Anthony. You have been listening to the Oracle Talk Radio Network. I appreciate you. I send all my love to all you. And remember, we won for a reason. I'm just going to say that. I'm trying to be generously kind. Have a great night, and thank you, everybody. Yep. Remember, get your Oracle app. It's free at Google and Apple. Have a great night. Take care.